Hello, I'm Coach Wanda, and I'd like to welcome you to Dream, Believe, Achieve. And I have with me today Rebecca Labad. Hey, Rebecca.
Hi, how are
Uh,
you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great.
Good. Well, here we are, a week of hope, and your testimony is so awesome. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, where you're at right now, and what you're doing before we get into the whole story?
So I am 22 years old. I go to University of Redlands down in the Southern California area, outside like San Bernardino, east of Los Angeles. I have a major in psychology with a minor in human animal studies. I will be graduating in April, and I'm just a person who likes the simple things in life. I like hanging out with friends and family. I like watching movies and TV. I like to read sometimes. And I like working out. I do track. And I recently been teaching myself the ukulele. So I like doing that too.
Wow, that is so awesome. That is just great.
Yeah.
Well, for our viewers who are watching, I met Rebecca probably, what was it, Rebecca, 4 or 5 years ago, right when you were graduating from high school?
Yes. Yes. Back in like 2018.
Yeah. And at the time, you had just overcome some, what do we want to call it, obstacles in life
Mhm.
that quite a few people in this world go through. And I know it was hard. And I think it was what, 2010?
2008, like right when like the financial like crisis, like the whole housing crisis hit, basically.
So why don't you explain to our viewers what it was that you went through during that time, your whole
Um,
family?
yeah. So we had just moved to California in 2006, so we were still kind of relatively new to that area, the community that we lived in, and we were renting a house, and so but like in 2008, we lost it. Um, I essentially had saw my stuff go get put into a moving truck, and little did I know that I would never really see much of that stuff ever again. Um, and I distinctly remember sitting in the van that night, the van that we had, and all the four of us, and we kind of just really at like a standstill. We didn't really know what was gonna happen next. So I spent what the eventually would be the next 4 years, moving from place to place. My brother ended up staying with our aunt, so we were separated and like early on. So then it was just my parents and I kind of moving in and with people who were willing to let us stay in their home. So while I was going to school, I was essentially staying in a room that wasn't really mine. It was just like an extra room or extra bed that somebody had, and for me and my parents. And then like over, so that was during mostly third and fourth grade. I remember that happening. And so then in the summer of going into fifth grade, um, we ended up staying in a Motel 6, and that was being paid for by a family in New Jersey. And so then the
Wow.
family in New Jersey that we do suggested that we move in with them. So then we took a Greyhound bus, the three of us, and went to New Jersey from California. We weren't supposed to stay too long, but it ended up being the rest of the summer and a little more into the school year of me starting fifth grade. Um, I literally went to school for like 2 days until we got on a train and went to New York City to stay with somebody else. That was like three days until like my parents decided that, like what are we gonna do now? Like what's the next step? Like we can't keep living like this. So it was decided that we would go back to Florida, which is where I was born.
Mhm.
Um, I would stay with my grandma, with my mom, while my dad just kind of worked on getting a job and a place for us to stay. That ended up being like almost 2 years, more so like a year and a half. So I did fifth and sixth grade in Florida, while my dad was, he was in Florida for a little bit, and he moved back to California by himself to get a job, and he ended up getting a job. He was staying with a family that we knew prior to us moving back to Florida, and though it was a guy who like was wondering why he commuted so far, and offered him a place to stay to split the rent, which is ended up being in Cameron Park. And so then I finished sixth grade, and me and my mom went on a Greyhound bus from Florida to California again, and we ended up in Cameron Park. And so that summer we were kind of getting our situation together. We left the apartment that we were staying with the friends that he made, and we ended up at the apartments that we are at now. So I started
Wow.
seventh grade, like since in Shingle Springs, and the rest is history.
Remember when I first met you? Oh my goodness. I remember picking you up at the apartments that your parents live in now, and it's such a beautiful
Uh-huh.
place. And you guys are doing so awesome. And I'm just so excited for all of you. But when I first met you, you were nominated for a youth program here in Shingle Springs area. And I remember people in the community were just blown away by the way you stayed focused in school. And apparently you had straight A's, you were captain of the track team. You know, here you were, this young girl, couldn't be rooted anywhere throughout your childhood, didn't know if you'd be sleeping in a home or not every night. How did you stay so focused and get straight A's and become captain of your track team? I mean, look at you now. Oh my goodness. And you got a scholarship.
Yeah. Yep. um I want to say like it, I don't know if it was really coming out of like a healthy place, but it really was like me feeling like I needed to take control of my surroundings. School was really the only environment where I felt like I could control the outcome. And I really didn't want my parents to worry about me in school, me knowing that I could do well in school. Like I'm a focused on that. And school was really where I felt like a normal kid. Like I'm going to school and like no one really knows what's going on like behind closed doors. No one needs to know that I'm essentially homeless.
Exactly.
So that's kind of where I invested a lot of my time into. So I was doing my homework because I at most places I had no choice but to do my homework. So that was also part of it. And I remember also thinking like, oh, I really don't want this to happen to like my family like in the future. So like also that was kind of like a driving point for me of like, oh, like I really bought into the whole like mantra, like, oh, to do well, like in this country or to do well, like here, you have to go to college and you have to get a degree and you have to do all these things. So then like I really bought into that. Because that's really essentially is drilled like in school is like to be successful we have to do all of these things. And so that's what I did. I remember distinctly in fourth grade like listening like in the history segment of class like, oh yeah, Berkeley University is the first college that was founded in California. So I was like, oh, I'm going to Berkeley. Like that's what I decided. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to college since fourth grade. So then like that definitely impacted me of going into like the AVID program in high school, which is like for first gen or low income students who want to go to college. So that's what I did. And so those were really like that was my driving force. When we finally stayed in Shingle Springs with like now me feeling like I could take root, like I invested in more things. So what I was taking up extracurricular activities, me realizing that I like track, so I invested in that and cross country, making friends along the way, volunteering. So I really utilized my time there and doing that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you really put your mind in a place of, I, I don't want to live like this in the future. And so
Mhm.
you were doing whatever it took to
Yeah,
train yourself and to believe that your
yeah,
future would be different.
yeah.
And, I gotta say, when I first met you, when you got nominated into that program, and I went to go meet you to interview you, I'm going to be quite honest with
Mhm.
you. I've never told you this. And it was so beautiful because I was nervous going to meet
Mm,
you because I didn't know if you were still homeless.
mm,
And I had gotten this submission over the email, and I didn't know if you were still homeless or what was going on in your life. All I knew is you had an awesome story. You were a dynamite person who persevered in everything you put your mind to, and I thought, wow, this is great. I can't wait to talk to her. But I didn't know if you were still homeless. And
mhm.
I also didn't know if you would be by yourself or if you would be with your parents. And so I remember showing up. It was round table pizza. And sitting with your parents did show with you. And I
Mhm.
remember sitting there and I just thought to myself, oh my goodness, I don't know what place they're at in their lives. And
Mhm.
I know that being homeless is such a
Mhm.
humbling experience for you and as a child, but for your parents too, you know?
Mhm.
And I remember talking to you, starting to talk to you, and you almost seemed like you didn't want to talk about it. Your head was down. I just got to tell you, you've got the most wonderful parents because I remember your mom at one point, she looked at you and she said, honey, listen here. And she said, don't you feel ashamed for a minute to tell your story? And I've never forgotten that. And after your mom said that, do you remember that moment? You like perked up. You
Yeah.
perked up. Yeah, it was like, okay, you love your parents so much. You wanted them to know that you respected their boundaries, and their comfort level and what you guys have all been through. And your mom was just like, no, you can tell your story. And then I remember while I was interviewing you and reading the congratulations letter, I remember I said to you, I said, do you really want to share this story? Because I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
and then I told you, I said, why don't you wait a week and then let me know? And I remember I
Mhm.
spoke to you and you said, no, I want to tell my story so I could help others.
Yes.
And that's why we're here today. And I just think that is so cool. I know you said you're going to be graduating with a psychology major, and I think
Mhm.
that's so cool. I know that after your mom had said that,
Mhm.
you perked up, you totally perked up, and it was like, you were going to tell your story. And as you know, I became a certified covenant life coach in 2020, and one of the
Mhm.
things that I know about coaching is that, you know quite often pain is our platform.
Yeah.
Pain is our platform for serving others, for
Mhm.
helping others and providing hope. And so it's like, I just admire you for stepping up and sitting in front of all these viewers, primarily people who may be sitting there who are homeless. I mean, it's just amazing that you're willing to share this story. And so, if you had to tell someone who's watching you right now what the hardest thing was for you while growing up in those circumstances, what would you say that was?
Um, the hardest thing was, um, hmm, I want to say a few things. At least two of them was like the lack of consistency, and making making friends or feeling like I had friends, like
Mhm.
a sense of stability. I would describe it as like you like putting a plant somewhere and like letting it take root, but then like abruptly moving it like multiple times. And so it was sometimes like frustrating and like exhausting, like consistently feeling like the new kid in school, or
Mhm.
like feeling like I didn't really have like a consistent like one like best friend that I could really tell everything that I was going through about, that ended up really being my mom or
Mhm.
my mom or my dad. So like that was frustrating.
How are you doing now?
I'm doing, I would say like I'm doing better than like I thought I would have. Um, I've been really like, I mean, despite like considering like what's going on in the world around me, within my own like personal world, like things are going well. Um, like, I mean, there is like the fear of like uncertainty of like, oh, like what exactly is my life supposed to look like after this chapter? It's kind of bittersweet. I look at it with like great anticipation of like excitement, but also like fear at the same time. Um, which is like I would probably say like a normal experience, like a normal thing when it comes to graduating.
Yeah,
Um, but
but you did
yeah,
it. Look at what you
mhm,
did.
yeah,
I mean, you're graduating. Look at what you
uh-huh,
did. You kept your mind
yeah,
focused, and for the viewers out there who are watching, they can do that too,
mhm,
right? I mean, if you can do it, they can do it. And
mhm.
I just think it's awesome that you're providing hope in that way. So, what about once you're done and you've graduated? What are your plans?
So I've been leaning towards CPS, Child Protective Services. Um, I during like the COVID thing and pandemic thing, when I was stuck at home over the summer, we came across someone else who lived in the area, and she works at CPS, and she kind of has like taken me under her wing. Essentially, she's now become like a family friend at this point, her and
Oh,
her family. So we've touched base a lot. We're similar in ways, and also she is able to give me some of the lowdown on like what's going on. She suggested that field to me because she really resonated with my story and my upbringing and my
mhm,
values. And she says like we need good social workers. We're always in need of them,
mhm.
and I feel like you would be a good candidate for that. So she's been kind of like the person in my corner, encouraging me to pursue this field. Um, and so that's what I really and kind of want to do. I've essentially always just wanted to serve people, and if that was doing what she's doing in that way, then I was willing to jump aboard.
Wow. When you're talking about that, it makes me reflect upon the fact that a lot of people we all go through heartaches in life, but it's so interesting that our gifts, sometimes people don't recognize this, our gifts that God has given us, they are rooted from those very places of pain that
Yeah.
we've had in our lives. And so I'm
Mhm.
listening to your story and I'm going, wow,
Mhm.
you've been there. It gives me the
Yeah.
chills just thinking about it. You've been there, and now
Mhm.
you're going back into that place to help
Mhm.
people who are going through what you've gone through.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so it's like I said before, it's like quite often people don't recognize it, but if they look at their life, pain is quite often their platform when they're
Yeah.
serving others and providing hope. And
Mhm.
so I think that's wonderful that you're going to be doing that. You're going to be awesome. Just talk about making a
Thank
difference
you.
in this world. Holy
Yeah.
cow. Uh, so at
Mhm.
any rate, through all this, what's one of the biggest things you believe you learned with this experience in your life?
Something that I've learned,
A valuable lesson.
a valuable lesson would be just, I don't know, I've learned to be content with not a lot, or not, or feeling like I have to accumulate stuff in order to feel contentment with where I am, like learning to find value in like the simple things in
Mhm.
life. That's either like experiences or relationships with people, is like that's what creates your home essentially. Like home is where like your heart is. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be a physical building.
Mhm. Right. It's the
Mhm.
people and the love. Yeah. Right. You don't need things to be happy.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. That's awesome. So do you have like anything else you want to say that could provide hope for someone who's watching you right now and goes, wow, she did it. I need to do something.
Um,
What
first
would you say to
thing,
them if they're looking at you and listening right now? If you had to look them in the eye and give them hope, what would you say to them?
um, find God and then find your purpose.
Mm,
Um, like during this time was also when I gave my life over to Christ. So that was helpful in giving me hope throughout like the second half of like what I
wow.
was going through. That more so happened when I was in Florida with just my mom and my grandma. And so then using that as like a driving force to really like kind of go up to God and ask him like what is my purpose? Where do you want me to be utilized? So that's kind of where I would take your first step. Find what you're passionate about and focus on that. And
Mhm.
you don't know like where that could end up taking you. So
Exactly. God will show you. If we just, it's funny because I think we forget that He's there. We live in this world, fast paced, lots of stuff going on, a lot of negativity that
Mhm.
distracts you from understanding the joy and the goodness of God all around us. And so you're right. It's like if we just go to God and ask Him, what does He want us? What is His favor for us? Um, He'll show us, and He's always there. He's always there. Well, it's
I'll
been
just
great talking with you, Rebecca, and
Mhm.
tell your parents that I said hello. You guys are a great family, and I love your story. And for all the viewers out there, especially those who are in a place of homelessness, never give up. God is there for you. And like Rebecca, look at what she's done. I mean, she did it, you guys, and so can you. Okay, Rebecca. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your testimony with us and providing hope for others who are out there who may be facing similar circumstances. Don't forget that God is always with you. I'm Coach Wanda, and this is the place where we dream, believe, and achieve. Until next time, you guys have a great day.